This is Lantern, my dream lamp. But how did we get here in the first place? Well, Lantern's story began over 2 years ago, all the way back in 2022. I was at my desk one night doing some work in college when I started to stare at my task lamp on my desk. In terms of performance, I couldn't really complain. It had a ton of convenient features like changing the color temperature and adjusting the brightness of the light. But every time I finished my work for the night, it was too harsh and bright when I wanted to wind down and relax. Instead, my Noguchi lamp would actually be perfect for this. The soft warm mood lighting creates a nice cozy atmosphere, but then again it is a little bit too dim for my work routine, which got me thinking, instead of having 2 separate lamps for 2 separate use cases, why couldn't there be a lamp that does both? Which then gave me a great idea. That later became Lantern, my dream lamp. Except it doesn't work anymore. Let me explain. So the big idea was this, a task lamp that gave you bright focus lighting when you're working, but when you want to wind down for the night, you could pull down this paper lantern shade and get nice ambient warm mood lighting. Now you might recognize it from this video I posted way back when on my Instagram, but there were a few things with this iteration that I wasn't completely satisfied with. First, I couldn't figure out how to get the shade to collapse and stay folded when changing between the 2 modes. I tried magnets, hooks, but nothing seemed to work as seamless as I envisioned, until I had this idea. So, this is the Akari 1AD designed by Isamu Noguchi, and my favorite part about this lamp is actually something you don't interact with that often. First, we need to take it apart. Okay, ready? Like, look how cool that is. That ability to compress and flat pack away where the volume goes to almost 0 is such an amazing tactile interaction that it got me thinking, what if this was the primary feature for the shade on my lamp? So instead of any external hardware holding the lantern in place, the form of the shade actually affords it the ability to unfold and flat pack away. Okay, so for the paper, before I'd use washi paper, which is mulberry paper, so I wanted something a little bit more durable. And then I came across this video on hanji, which is traditional Korean handmade paper, but apparently it's known for being very long lasting and sturdy. And they even use it to repair documents from Congress, which is crazy. So I got some samples. Mulberry paper typically is known for the inclusions that it has. It makes it very cloud-like and ethereal. At first I wasn't sure quite how I was gonna like it, but I was really surprised at the duality effect that light had on it, where at first glance some of them are a bit unassuming, but then you put light behind it and all of a sudden the inclusions come to life and it has a totally different feel to it. Unfortunately, these were either out of stock or too expensive, so I think I'm gonna go with the Hanji White, which is probably the most processed and does not have the natural inclusions. Since this is a prototype and I'm not sure how my concept is even going to work yet, that should be fine. For the final materials, I'll be repurposing the wire in the spare lantern shade that'll be used for the ribbing. Then this LED ring light will be the main light source. And finally, the Hanji white paper for the lantern shade material. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to do a product autopsy, and it's typically done to understand how a product works, the manufacturing processes involved in making it, what type of hardware is used to power it. So I have this LED lamp here, and I'm going to take it apart because for Lantern, my task lamp, I want to see if I can have the optical controls on the base rather than the little control box that is attached to the wire. Because in the previous iteration I had it there, but it was kind of a pain having to click those buttons every time I wanted it on, or change the dimness or color temperature. So I'm hoping the sensors in here I can put inside the base of my lamp and it can have a similar effect. Okay, so here at the base there's this little felt pad here, but I'm going to peel it off because it looks like there's some screws I can take out and hopefully take out the bottom. So let's see how this goes. Maybe, oh. Alright, I'm gonna see if I can peel this off, and then I'm just gonna hope and guess that these 4 are the only ones that I need. So screwdriver. Okay, so update. I had gotten the 4 screw bosses off, hoping that was the last one, but I really had to scrape the felt off just to find the next one. I was able to actually pry the base a little bit open with my screwdriver, and I could see there was another boss left somewhere in the middle, so I was scraping all this felt off. So now I just need to take this final screw out, and then hopefully we can see the internals inside. Because if there's another screw, I don't feel like scraping it anymore. There we go. And wow. Somebody put tape in here. After identifying the circuit board and wiring I needed for my optical controls, it was time to move on to the next step. After making the mold, the next step was creating the lantern shade. The shade material will be made from 6 4x7 sheets of Hanji white paper. And to make the adhesive, I'm using simple water and nori glue to hold everything together. Now that that's drying, let's put the circuit board into the base. We're going to quickly clean up. So a lot happened. You ever get in this mode where something's not working, so you just go at it really hard and then still doesn't work at the end, and then there's just like a big mess everywhere? That's what just happened. Now, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is I was able to connect the circuit board to the LED ring light, and all the sensors work, the on-off, the color temperature, and the dimness. So that's the good news, and the bad news is that it doesn't work with the metal base. So I did kind of a deep dive into capacitive sensors and got into dielectric materials and permittivity. And essentially, I think the reason that this was able to work with the original housing is that plastic has a low permittivity. So it was able to register the electrical pulses from our fingers. And I think the problem with the aluminum base is that because aluminum is so conductive, the electrical current just gets carried through the whole thing. So, I don't know, I think I'm going to sleep on it and come back to this later. Because contrary to what I thought when I was a kid, when you do sleep on it, you do get better ideas. So, I think that's cool. Yep. This is my life now. Okay, so the plan is to 3D print a new base. So the housing that I was using came with this really heavy weight. It's pretty hefty, it weighs around 2 pounds. And it also has this extruded hole for the piping to be able to screw in. So I have to include that in the housing. And to accommodate for the weighted base, I found some weights online that I have to design the housing around. So I'm hoping to get around 2 pounds. Another thing I have to do is accommodate the circuit board. And luckily, it's not too complicated. I just have to create these, I don't know if you can see. I basically just have to create little bosses for the circuit board to snap into. So the next thing I have to do is, on this surface, design the optical controls. Now, at first, I didn't know where to start, so I sent a little email explaining my project to my friend Seiwei from CWNT. He runs his own studio with his partner Taylor, and they make really cool stuff together. So please check him out, show him love and support. Basically, I had seen some of his products have labeling on it, so he's really good with machining and makes everything in-house. So I reached out to him with my idea and said, hey, this is cool, you should get a vinyl decal. And I hadn't heard of it before, but let's go design one. Okay, so I just finished designing the optical control interface for my lamp, and I think I'm gonna go with something like this. So I designed it to scale so I could print it out and see what it looks like in real life. So I guess design-wise, it's pretty similar to what the previous lamp had. I just have the on-off button, this is the color temperature, and then I had the dimness bar kind of shortened. I don't know, it just looked compositionally better having it taper towards the hole extrude here where the stem of the lamp is going to be. The only thing I'm not sure about is this timing feature that the circuit board has, which I didn't use really at all on the LED lamp. I didn't want to omit it because it just looked visually unbalanced and it was bothering me, so I just decided to include it. So now I'm going to order this and then hopefully I can start working on the CAD for the base. This is Lantern, a dynamic task lamp blending traditional lighting and contemporary hardware. Now I have cool focus lighting while I'm working, and warm ambient lighting when I'm winding down to relax. And as much as I love my incandescent bulbs, the LED ring light doesn't emit heat, which is really nice because it keeps my room cool during these hot summer days. I can easily pivot the light where I need it, and if I'm worried about the shade, the lantern is fully collapsible, reducing its volume to nearly zero. I was even able to get my timing feature to work. The green light is a 30-minute timer, and the blue light is for 60 minutes. Now, just by finishing this project, there's still a few things that I think could be better. The power cable is a little bit short, and the vinyl decal is still something I'm trying to get right. But I think overall, I'm really happy I was able to achieve my 2 measures of success. First, having the optical controls on the base makes it so much more convenient to operate. And number 2, I love the way the lantern shade looks and feels when you're unfolding it and collapsing it away. And for me, this project is a continual reminder that done is better than perfect. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time. Gotta make sure not to break the rest of my tripod. One of the little clasps couldn't handle the force anymore, so I'm one leg down. So I just broke my hot end fan blade. I was trying to unscrew it with my Allen wrench and it broke one of the blades off, so yeah, gotta fix that.